Ever since the rapid spread of COVID closed down schools in 2020, we as students have been having it pretty good. Before the pandemic, we've never been able to walk to our refrigerators to get some food right after class, or let alone attend class from another state, all thanks to online education. Online education is more beneficial than traditional in-person education. After hearing the speech, you'll understand why online education allows students to learn easier and how it saves money for college students. I chose this topic because I myself find it easier to learn online rather than in person. And I want to share why I do with you guys. With it being safe to return back to schools again, it's crucial that we as students make the best decision when choosing between returning to campus or staying online for classes. That decision can be tough, but after the speech, it'll be clear to you that online education is more beneficial than traditional in-person education. So today, I'll be comparing the money and time costs of online education and in-person education. Second, I'll be discussing the abilities for students to learn in both types of education. Last, I'll be talking about the opposing viewpoints of online education and how it doesn't really tell the whole story. First, online education is more affordable and efficient than in-person education. Rather than paying for housing and meal plans when staying on campus, online education eliminates the need for that. According to the 2021 article, Cost of Education versus Traditional Education, the average cost of housing in 2021 was $9,000 a year and $5,000 a year for the campus meal plan. Adding it up, you'd be spending an extra $15,000 a year if you had an in-person education in 2021. But say that you drove your car to school rather than dorming near campus. According to the 2020 article, Benefits of Online Learning by the University of St. Augustine, it states that students spend an average between $1,000 and $1,300 a year on gas to commute to school, and that's not even including the price of the parking permit. Also, we can't forget about the stop-and-go traffic that comes along when driving to school and back. That time could have been spent studying for other classes or just chilling on Netflix. Now that you've seen how much we can save through online education, let's talk about the place how students work, where students work affects how they learn. Online education allows students to learn easier than being in person. This is especially true for people who are more introverted. According to the 2020 article, 8 Reasons Why Online Education is Better Than Traditional by Trish Samer, she states that online students can be more engaging than in person. The article cites a study from the California State University of San Bernardino that from a study of 2 groups, the people who went to class were more intimidated to participate with their professor than being online. This makes sense because when there's, especially for larger classes in person, students are more likely to more scared to raise their hand than simply just typing the question in the Zoom chat. As a result, more students are able to gain feedback from the professor online. Additionally, with the classes being online, students have more access to learning tools compared to in person. Professors can now easily just record the lectures through Zoom. But it's more difficult for professors to record live lectures when they're in their classroom because they would have to bring their own tripod and set up their camera to record the lecture, rather than just pressing the record button on Zoom. Students wouldn't have to rush down to write what the professor says during lectures, and they could just rewatch the lecture on their own time to better absorb the information. Even with the benefits that online education offers, some will still argue that it's better, in-person education is better. They'll argue that it's easier to learn online and that it's easier to network in person. They argue online education causes students to lose motivation in doing well in school because of the absence of face-to-face interaction. According to in the article, online education versus traditional education, according to the 2020 article, Students Face Obstacles by Owen Daugherty, she states that in a survey conducted of 23,000 undergraduate students, 76% of them surveyed that they had a lack of motivation in online learning. This is because they could get away with going on their phone whenever they want. Also, they felt like they were being taught by a computer rather than a professor, and so they had less face-to-face interaction, they felt like. Even though easy to get distracted and lose motivation on online school, there's arguably more face-to-face interaction with the professor in online than in the classroom. When students are in a class, and especially in a large lecture hall, it can be difficult to see and hear the professor on the board when sitting in the back. According to the article, Does It Really Matter Where Students Sit by Mary Ellen Weimer, it states that students did worse academically when sitting in the back, and they paid less attention, and they were on their phone more. On the other hand, online education allows students to have an equal opportunity to engage and communicate with the professor. All the students in class were able to hear and see the professor at a high quality because they share the same point of view from their computer. In addition, students may argue that in-person education allows them to easily network with other people on campus in order to jumpstart their career than it would be for online. The University of Potomac states that in 2020, in its article, Top Advantages, 6 Advantages of Traditional Education, that it's easier to meet and build new connections with recruiters in person. Even though it is easier to for students to build deeper connections and more personal connections in person, online education is more convenient for recruiters and it gives them more time to talk with their students. From the 2021 article, Online Networking versus In-Person Networking by Mark Waldron, he states that there are countless websites such as for students to network with other recruiters, and recruiters to network with students, such as LinkedIn or just social media. Rather than commuting all the way to campus for guest speakers to speak, the guest speakers could just join the Zoom call and recruiters could join the Zoom call too. This provides more for the recruiters located anywhere geographically to connect with students. If a recruiter connects virtually with them, it allows them to have more time to spend with them rather than just rushing to get to the next class. This exchange of information will be more immediate because the recruiters and students will already be on their computers. Overall, this shows that the areas in which traditional education is proficient, online education excels. In conclusion, online education is comparable to traditional education and gives us a unique set of advantages that in-person education can't offer. First, online education is more affordable and efficient than in-person education. Also, it allows students to learn easier because of the many learning tools it offers. Last, online education is much like traditional education in terms of its ability to network and with other students and interact with students and teachers. From the convenience and efficiency it presents, online education is more beneficial than traditional in-person education. The education system is rapidly evolving and changing for the better, and we must too. As a result, there's no doubt that online education best accommodates the need for all of us. Thank you.